we feel good about the progress that we've made, but we're constantly evaluating and we're constantly setting the bar a little bit higher. So as I've talked throughout this press conference, we certainly know the areas that we must continue to work very, very hard to improve upon. Chundia is obviously a very accomplished referee. I think in the last World Cup, he did some of the best games. In terms of just specific calls today, I thought that the likelihood is that the play with Josh Wolf was a penalty. All right. And I didn't think that there was a foul on Daniel Alves. All right. And I thought the one with Michael Bradley was a penalty. Clint still has some unique qualities. He's aggressive around the goal. He does have the ability sometimes to create a shot or a goal out of nothing. He has shown that he can score goals with his head. So we're excited with the progress he's made. I mean, he played a very good game for Fulham against Tottenham before he came in here, scored a goal, had a hand in setting up the other two. Was pleased to see him get a goal today. So hopefully those are good points to build on. I felt that our ability in the center of the field was pretty good today. I mean, when you play against Brazil, the way they're tonight, Afonso, Kaká, Robinho, and Ronaldinho, the way those four move around, okay, and then at the right times, the way Maicon and then Gilberto come forward, your challenge is to be able to keep track of a lot of things at the same time. You know, it's a little bit like the shell game where they just keep moving things around and they wait for you to, you know, go for the wrong shell and then they run through. All right, and so, you know, it's a big challenge, and I always use this expression, radar screen, to where you have to try to keep track of a lot of things at the same time. And I thought that in those ways we did a pretty good job. And like I said, there's always plays where somebody can react faster, or there's a play where maybe in a one-on-one, the decision to tackle or to stand the guy up, you know, you find little things that can be better. But I thought that as far as dealing with all the little moves that they create and still keeping track of people, I thought that was pretty good. Yes, we moved them around today. When you know, Benny Fallhaber is still working his way back into 90-minute fitness. And so when we made the change, we tried to now play, again, if you want to call it almost like a 4-1-3-2 a little bit, with DeMarcus now at times helping in there, but having the freedom to move around, and then Bobby and Landon being active. And then when there's 5 minutes to go and we still feel we can use a little bit more in terms of fresh legs, then there's just a possibility of bringing Davy Arnaud on and letting DeMarcus move out on the left and seeing if we can get him forward a few times. So he's a versatile player. Going back to the years when I coached him with the Fire, there were times when you know, DeMarcus could literally be the left back and the left midfielder and the left wing at the same time. And so, you know, his mobility helps, and now that he's gained more experience, I think there are greater possibilities. Sure. When you play as a central defender against those kind of players, you have your hands full. And Carlos, for the United States, is a very important player. His leadership, his presence, makes a big difference. And now when you play against the best teams and the best players, the ability to keep raising your level to make all the plays is something where, again, you know, I think we were asked early on about a player, and I said, you know, the package is good, but it has to keep getting better. You know, so I think that Carlos understands that, and the fact that he plays week in and week out on the Premiership in the same role is very important and will help. And I think a lot of those comments can be said of Gooch. So, you know, this is where we are. When we were finished with the Sweden game, we talked about the fact that you go through a series of games, say in the Gold Cup, and now your central defenders play against good players, but probably not anybody in the Gold Cup the likes of Ibrahimovic, okay, and then certainly not like Kaká and Robinho and Ronaldinho. So our ability to continue to raise our levels across the board at every position, okay, with players that have experience and with young players, that is a big part of how we'll improve. And we've been fortunate this year. We've played some very, very good opponents. Again, we don't leave today pleased about the result. I mean, there's still a point that now we're playing in the United States. The game is 2-2, and we've got a little bit of momentum. So at that point, you feel like that game maybe can be ours, or that game can end 2-2, and it didn't. So there's things that we certainly focus on, but we feel that little by little we can make these improvements. Well, we could play like that against certain teams. So there's just all these levels, right? And Brazil's there, okay? And so, again, we have players. I mean, please don't underestimate our players, all right? We do have players who are skillful. We do have players who are capable of producing great things, all right? To produce them in the biggest games, to produce them against Brazil, or to produce them against Argentina, or when you play top teams in Europe, that's what it's all about. Okay, again, there are so many different levels in all this, and when we play against the top teams, it shows us the standard. And believe me, it's important sometimes to say that we have players who are capable of great things, but when we, again, compare them to the likes of Ronaldinho, then we realize, okay, we still have to keep working.